Today we're going to talk about matching exponential graphs with equations. So first let's review growth and decay. So growth looks like this, going up from left to right. Decay looks like this, going down from left to right. We can also have the reflection of both of these. So if this is the x-axis, I can have a reflection of growth, and I can have the reflection of decay. So these are both still growth, and these are both still decay. All right, this is going to be helpful when you're looking at the graphs today, matching the graphs with the equations, because we know that if it is growth, then the base has to be greater than 1. So like 2 to the x, or 3 to the x, or 10 to the x. All right, same thing here, but 2 to the x would be negative, negative 3 to the x, negative 10 to the x, anything like that. For decay, it would have to, the base would need to be less than 1, or between 0 and 1. So something like 1/2 to the x, and it would be in parentheses, 1/2 to the x, or 1/3 to the x, or 0.5 to the x. All that's decay. And then if it's reflected, it would be a negative 1/2 to the x, or a negative 1/3 to the x, or a negative 0.5 to the x. Okay, so that's growth and decay. All right, now let's look at the formula for an exponential function. So each thing tells us something different, and if you need more help on this, go back to the last video on transformations. So A tells us if it is a stretch or a shrink, and that's not going to be super important today. What is going to be important is whether it's positive or negative. So if it's negative, then that's going to be a reflection over the x-axis. Okay. Then for B, that is our base, and that tells us if it is growth or decay. That's what we just talked about. Okay. And then H tells us if we're going to the left or to the right. Okay, and it's opposite H. All right, not going to be as important today. H isn't going to be largely important. What's really going to be important is K. All right, because K tells us up or down, and K is also our asymptote. So if you can find your asymptote on the graph, you should be able to know what K is. So the main two important things for today, or three important things, are going to be, is it a positive or negative? Is A positive or negative? Is it growth or decay? And what is the asymptote? All right. So let's do an example. All right. And this is straight from IXL, which is what you're going to be doing today. So which graph matches this equation? So let's look at the equation here. We got y equals 3 times 3 to the x minus 6. The first thing I look at is the asymptote. The asymptote is y equals -6. So I need a graph that has an asymptote at -6. And so this one's out because that's +6. This one's out, that's +6. -6 and -6. So now I need to determine, is it growth or decay? So based on that 3 here, the base, it is growth. So my answer is going to be A, because this one is decay down here. It's going down from left to right. Okay, we want going up from left to right because of growth. All right, let's do another one. All right, first thing, so now we got the graph. They want us to match the equation. Look at the asymptote first. The asymptote is y equals +5. Okay, so automatically I can cross out these two because they have asymptotes at +4. We don't want that. Okay, these two have asymptotes at +5. All right, so we're good. Now, the difference between these two are this -4 up here, all right? This one's positive and the first one's negative. So a negative means that it should be reflected across the x-axis. That means it should be upside down, okay? But it's not. So we're going to go with the last answer choice here because it's a positive A, so it's opening up or above the x-axis, all right? Not reflected. Okay, let's do another one. All right, now they're asking us to match. We have the graph. They want us to find the equation. All right, so first thing I look at is the asymptote. The asymptote is right here at y equals +3. Okay, so I can immediately cross out these two because they have -3 for the asymptote. Okay, so the next thing I need to look at is growth or decay because look, this one has 1/2, this one has 2. This one's growth, this one's decay. I want growth. I'm going up from left to right. So that means my answer is, where's my pen? This one here, okay, because that's growth. All right, let's do another one. Did I skip one? Okay. All right, so which graph matches the equation? 2 times 1/2 to the x. So immediately, I know that my asymptote is 0 because I don't have a k. All right, so all of my asymptotes are on the x-axis, so we're good to go. Can't cross out anything yet. Now look at I would look at A, this 2 here. It's positive, so that means it's going to be not reflected. Okay, above the x-axis. So anything below like this, I can cross out. So this is out because that's a reflection. This is out. That's a reflection. All right, so the difference between these two I have left are one is growth and one is decay. So let's see. Back to my pen here. So this one's growth. This one's decay. It's going down from left to right. This one's going up from left to right. And based on this 1/2 here, the 1/2 is decay. So we want decay. So our answer is this last one down here. Okay. All right, let's do another. We got the graph. They say, what's the equation? So look at the asymptote first. The asymptote is y equals +4. All right, see the asymptote going through +4 right there. All right, so I can immediately cross out. All right, look at the asymptotes for all of them. I can immediately cross out this first one here because it has 2. I want 4. Cross out the last one. It has 2. I want 4. Okay, so now we can look at growth or decay because they both have a -4. All right, so they're reflected. That's right. But one is growth, one is decay. All right, so remember I said in the last video, if it's reflected, you need to flip it back over to see what it would be because this looks like it could be decay, but it's a reflection. So I have to flip it back over to see what it originally was. So if I flip it back over the x-axis, this is growth. All right. So that means my base should be greater than 1. So that means the second one here is the answer. All right, this one would be decay. All right, so that means the graph should be going down from left to right. Okay. All right, I think we got one more. So let's look at the asymptote first. The asymptote is -2, y equals -2. And they all have asymptotes at -2, -2, -2, -2, -2. So they're all good. Okay, now let's look at is it growth or decay? All right. So these are all, well, actually, let's look at is A positive or negative? Let's do that first. So if you can see right here, A is negative. That means it should be reflected over the x-axis. So immediately I can cross out these last two because they're not reflected over the x-axis. Okay. So now I need to figure out, is it growth or decay? Based on that 1/4 there, my base, that says that my graph should be decay. All right, because of the 1/4. So which graph represents decay? I got to see. It's hard to tell right now with them reflected over. So if I reflect it back over, all right, I can tell this one's growth. If I reflect this one back over, that one's decay. So this is the one that I want right here. So my answer is the first one, A. All right, so you're going to go complete the IXL X2. Make sure you get an 80% or higher. If you have